He was the first commander to ever beat the Mongols in open battle. A prince turned warrior, hunted by Genghis Khan himself. After the Khwarezmian Empire was burned to the ground, its cities leveled, its people slaughtered, he became a fugitive of history. For over 2 decades he fought in exile, a phantom on horseback, escaping death 1,000 times. His family was murdered, his empire erased. He gathered new armies against the Mongols wherever he went, outnumbered and lost every battle, but he never surrendered. After over 20 years on the run, hunted by Genghis Khan and the Mongol horde, he was struck down in the city of Diyarbakir, not by a Mongol blade, but by Kurdish assassins. This is the unbelievable story of Jalal ad-Din Mankburni Muhammad, Shah of the Kharezmian Empire. Jalal ad-Din was born in 1199, the son of Ala ad-Din Muhammad II, the Sultan of a vast but fragile empire. The Khwarezmian Empire stretched from the Caspian Sea to the Indus River, but beneath its size was chaos, rebellions, rivalries, and internal betrayal. Even Jalal's claim to the throne was disputed. His mother was a concubine, not a noble. His half-brothers despised him, but he was different. He was raised not for court, but for war. Trained by Turkic horsemen, Persian generals, and Arab scholars, his mind was sharp, and his sword even sharper. He knew from an early age that the storm was coming. In the year 1218, Genghis Khan extended a hand, not with sword, but with silk. He sent a peaceful trade caravan to the Khwarezmian city of Otrar, carrying goods, gifts, and Mongol merchants under protection of diplomacy. But the Sultan's governor, Inalchuk, seized the caravan, accused them of spying, and had them imprisoned. Genghis, still seeking peace, responded with 3 official envoys, 1 Mongol and 2 Muslim, asking for justice, not war. Sultan Muhammad II, proud, arrogant, and paranoid, not only rejected the request, he executed 1 envoy, shaved the others' beards, and sent them back humiliated. That day, he did not insult a man. He insulted Genghis Khan, and the punishment was coming. Genghis gathered his armies and unleashed hell across Khwarezm. City after city fell. Otrar, Bukhara, Samarkand. The Khwarezmian army was outmaneuvered, outnumbered, and broken. The Sultan fled east, alone, hunted, and in an icy mountain fortress. He died in shame, leaving the throne to his exiled son, Jalal ad-Din. Jalal ad-Din was now a king without a kingdom. His father was dead, the empire in ruins, his people scattered, but he would not kneel. At the mountain pass near Parwan, in the lands of modern-day Afghanistan, he faced a Mongol detachment under the command of Shigi Kutuk, one of Genghis Khan's most trusted generals. Outnumbered but not outmatched, Jalal ad-Din used the land to his advantage. Narrow trails, hidden cavalry, traps laid in rocky passes, and when the time came, he struck like lightning. The Mongol lines shattered, their cavalry broken, their banners trampled into dust. For the first time, the Mongols tasted defeat. Word spread like wildfire across the east. The one who had been hunted had just humiliated the hunters. Jalal ad-Din had done what no one thought possible. He had defeated the Mongols. For the first time, their pride was shattered. But vengeance comes quickly when your enemy is Genghis Khan. When the news reached the Khan, his fury burned across the steppe. He did not send a general. He came himself, with an army larger than any Jalal had ever faced. Relentless, merciless, unstoppable, Jalal knew he could not fight them head-on again. He began to retreat through mountain, desert, and plain. Village after village fell behind him. He was no longer fighting to win. He was fighting to survive, to protect what was left of his people. And as the Mongol storm closed in, he made his final stand at the edge of the world, the banks of the Indus River. After months of retreat, Jalal ad-Din reached its waters, battered, outnumbered, but unbroken. Behind him, the wrath of Genghis Khan. Ahead, only water. There was no escape, no reinforcements, only a choice: stand and fight or die running. Jalal chose to stand. He ordered what remained of his army, less than 10,000 men, to form ranks along the riverbank, spears braced, arrows drawn, and on the horizon, the Mongols came, a tidal wave of warriors stretching as far as the eye could see, 20 times his number, led by the Khan himself. Jalal turned to the women and children behind him, his mother, his wives, his sons and daughters. There would be no mercy. With a heavy heart, he made the most painful decision of his life. Before the battle began, one by one, his family climbed to a rocky cliff above the Indus River. Some jumped on his command, others by their own will. Their cries were swallowed by the wind, the river, by their bodies. Death was the last freedom they had. Jalal ad-Din did not look away. Then he turned to his warriors and raised his sword. The screams had faded. The river was quiet again, but the air was thick with death. Jalal ad-Din turned to his warriors, no longer an army, but survivors. Men with broken armor, horses with bleeding flanks. And still, they stood. The Kharezmian prince rode to the front, lifted his sword high, and shouted his final command. "We die with honor for the sake of Allah." The Mongols charged like thunder. Arrows blackened the sky. The Kharezmians roared and rushed forward, outnumbered, surrounded, but unshaken. The two forces collided in an explosion of steel and blood. Jalal fought like a man possessed, cutting through horsemen, turning blades, refusing to fall. Around him, men died by the hundreds. Screams echoed through the dust, but he would not surrender. Genghis Khan watched from a nearby hill, unmoved, silent. One final push. Jalal's men broke. He looked behind. Only the river remained, with no time left. He turned his horse toward the Indus, kicked the sides, and charged. And then, with the full fury of the Mongol army chasing behind, Jalal ad-Din Kharezmshah leapt into the river. His horse vanished beneath the waves. Arrows followed, but none struck true. On the far bank, he emerged, soaked, breathless, but alive. Genghis Khan watched in silence and finally spoke. "Such a son should have been born to me." Years passed since the river spared him. Jalal ad-Din did not vanish. He rode west, across Persia, Armenia, and the mountains of Anatolia, a fugitive of history, but one who refused to fade. He fought crusaders, he fought Mongols, he fought warlords and kings, but more than anything, he fought to unite the Muslim world, to rally the Ummah, to make a final stand against the Mongol storm. But many turned their backs, afraid of what would happen if he rose again. Some made peace with Genghis. He was no longer a king. But his sword still carved his name into the lands he crossed. For over 2 decades he resisted, always hunted, always outnumbered, never broken. And then, in the mountains of the Kurds, he found hope. The city of Diyarbakir welcomed him. There, he began to rebuild. He sent letters to hidden allies, gathered blades in secret, and prepared to rise once more, not as a fugitive, but as a storm. He dreamed of uniting the divided Ummah. He dreamed of revenge. But vengeance comes quickly when your enemy is Genghis Khan. The Mongols, ever watchful, whispered threats to nearby lords, and fear did what arrows could not. One night as he prayed, they came, not Mongols, not soldiers, but traitors, Kurds, bribed or broken by the looming shadow of the Khan. Men who smiled in daylight and drew daggers in the dark. They struck swiftly, no trial, no honor, only silence and blood on stone. Jalal ad-Din Kharezmshah, the last lion of his house, died not on the battlefield, but in betrayal. He was just 40 years old, and with his death, the last flicker of the Khwarezmian Empire was extinguished. No army buried him. No monument marks his grave. But the people never forgot him, nor did the Mongols. He became a whisper in every mountain pass, a legend in every tale of resistance. Because when Genghis Khan saw him leap into the Indus, wounded but defiant, he turned to his men and whispered, "Such a son should have been born to me."